Counts are going, 30 seconds.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tonda McCharles with the Toronto Star, and I'll be chairing today's news conference with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland. They both have a couple of statements, 20-25 minutes. Et puis après ça, on a 30 minutes pour des questions. S'il vous plaît, fermez vos cellulaires. Everybody shut off your cell phones, please. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Tonda. Hello and welcome, and thank you all for being here. A year and a half ago, with rising questions about the future of NAFTA, I was asked how we would respond. My answer was that we'd respond as Canadians always have in uncertain times. We'd be constructive and reasonable, but we'd also be firm. We'd protect our interests and promote our values. We'd show determination and also flexibility, and we would remain united. And ultimately, we'd emerge stronger. Well, that's exactly what we did. Last night, Canada reached an agreement in principle with the United States and Mexico on a modernized and updated North American Free Trade Agreement. It will now be called the USMCA, the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement. It's an agreement that, when enacted, will be good for Canadian workers, good for Canadian business, and good for Canadian families. It's an agreement that removes uncertainty for our manufacturers and investors and improves labor rights for all North Americans. And it's an agreement that will be profoundly beneficial for our economy, for Canadian families, and for the middle class. When we began the work of updating NAFTA, we kept our focus on what really matters. The new agreement would need to preserve jobs, foster growth, expand the middle class, and support people working hard to join the middle class. It also needed to be fair, which meant that it would have to preserve the fundamental principle of the original agreement, which is that when your trading partner is 10 times your size, you need rules. You need a level playing field. Unless the new agreement achieved those objectives, we wouldn't sign it. Well, simply put, the new agreement had to be good for Canada and for Canadians. Parce que la réussite des accords commerciaux ne se mesure pas avec des données ou des statistiques, mais par la façon dont ils aident à améliorer la vie des gens, par leur capacité à protéger l'emploi des travailleurs et à en créer de nouveaux, par la possibilité qu'ont nos petites et moyennes entreprises de percer les marchés nord-américains, par les nouvelles opportunités qu'auront ceux qui travaillent fort et par la façon dont ces opportunités sont offertes à tous et profitent au plus grand nombre. Il faut le dire, la modernisation de l'ALENA n'a pas été une mince tâche. Certains ont dit que ce n'était pas possible de le faire et qu'on devrait accepter n'importe quel accord. Ce n'est pas ce que nous avons fait. Nous avons insisté pour obtenir un bon accord. Comme toute négociation importante, il a fallu faire des compromis. Et je vous l'avoue, certains ont été plus difficiles que d'autres. Nous n'avons jamais cru que ce serait facile. Ça n'a pas été le cas non plus. Mais aujourd'hui est une bonne journée pour le Canada. C'est en nous concentrant sur la création d'opportunités et la croissance de la classe moyenne que nous sommes arrivés ici, tout en préservant les parties les plus importantes de l'ALENA, celles qui favorisent la réussite des entreprises et l'équité pour les Canadiens. And I want to stress, Canada got here because we kept our focus and our collective resolve, even when some were recommending we capitulate. A word of caution. We're not yet at the finish line. This agreement still needs to be ratified in Mexico, in the United States, and in Canada. But what I can say is that free and fair trade in North America, a trading zone that accounts for more than a quarter of the world's economy, with just 7% of its population, is in a much more stable place than it was yesterday. We now have a path forward. This is an extraordinarily complex agreement, just as the original NAFTA was. But let me sum up what it means. It means that when this agreement is enacted, NAFTA will be preserved, updated, modernized, and stabilized for the 21st century, as we set out to do. It means Canadian workers and their families will enjoy greater opportunities than ever before. And more prosperity means more resources to invest in things like housing, health care, and a more secure retirement for our seniors. Alongside our new European and Trans-Pacific trade agreements, today we are securing a higher standard of living long into the future for the people of Canada. Before I ask Minister Freeland to get into some of the details of the agreement, I want to express my gratitude. We are very grateful to all the people from every corner of the country, from all walks of life, from all political points of view, who joined us in this effort, who supported and sustained it through the past 13 months. Especially and particularly, I have to thank every Canadian, and there were thousands of them, who wrote letters and emails and who stopped me in the street to say, keep at it, stay strong, we are with you. I want to thank the premiers, the leaders from industry and labor, Brian Mulroney and his original NAFTA negotiating team, and other former prime ministers, members of our NAFTA Council. Thank you all for your support, your advice, and your patriotism. Minister Freeland, Chrystia, for your tireless, relentless efforts, for your dedication, your hard work, not only in the past 5 weeks, but in the past 19 months. Thank you, and thank you to your family as well. I know, like so many of our families, Graham, Natalka, Halina, and Ivan missed you a bit, but knew you were doing extraordinarily important work. We owe you all a debt of gratitude. No minister in a generation has been given a more difficult task than this one, and you delivered. Chief Negotiator Steve Verheuel, who's here in the room with us. Thank you, Steve, for being so extraordinary, so focused, and such a great Canadian. Everything you did, every step of the way, got us to this point. And David McNaughton in Washington, on the front lines of the conversations with Congress, with the administration, with stakeholders in the United States. David, you have been an extraordinary resource, friend, and a valuable asset to all Canadians as we've moved forward on this together. I also want to thank Ambassador Bob Lighthizer. He is a tough, principled negotiator, a veteran of 40 years of trade agreements, but he also understands and appreciates Canada. It's fair to say that this would not have come together without him. Likewise, the Secretary Ildefonso Guajardo of Mexico. Muchas gracias, mi amigo. I'd like now to turn it over to Chrystia. Minister Freeland.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. And thank you for your resolve and your leadership and your patriotism. They have been at the heart of our work and the foundation of everything. I'm really grateful. And thank you, everyone, for being here. I want to start by echoing the Prime Minister's sentiment and his thanks to everyone, above all, our outstanding trade negotiators. They are amazing, and I am very grateful, very, very grateful. And I also want to thank the trade negotiators from the other two countries. This has really been 24/7 for a lot of people for a long time. People have gone above and beyond the call of duty, and I'm really, really grateful. I said when we began that there would be moments of drama, and there have been. Through it all, Ambassador Lighthizer has been a professional, reliable, and trustworthy counterpart. And I can say, especially after the past few weeks of very intense negotiations, what we called our continuous negotiation, he's someone I consider a friend. Thank you, Bob. Mexico's Secretary Ildefonso Guajardo has likewise been a valued and respected counterpart, and I consider him to be a friend too. Muchas gracias, Ildefonso. So, here's what today's agreement will achieve. Tout d'abord, et c'est la chose la plus importante, il maintient le libre-échange à l'échelle du continent nord-américain ainsi que l'accès au sein d'un marché régional d'une valeur de 25 000 milliards de dollars, qui compte 470 millions de personnes et dont la taille a triplé depuis la création de l'ALENA en 1993. En même temps, il nous protège contre le spectre des droits de douane sur le secteur automobile qui planait sur notre économie et des milliers de bons emplois bien rémunérés des deux côtés de la frontière. En soi, c'est une victoire pour les Canadiens. De plus, il maintient l'accès en franchise de droit de la grande majorité des exportations canadiennes au marché américain. Ça ne veut pas dire que nous n'allons pas continuer de diversifier nos échanges à travers le monde. C'est certain que nous allons continuer de le faire. Mais ça nous permettra de solidifier notre position au sein du marché nord-américain qui nous est particulièrement important pendant que nous continuerons d'élargir notre accès à des marchés dans d'autres pays. Cet accord est bon pour des centaines de milliers de travailleurs canadiens. Non seulement il préserve les chaînes d'approvisionnement transfrontalières essentielles, mais il améliore considérablement les salaires et les droits des travailleurs mexicains. Concrètement, c'est plus équitable pour les travailleurs de l'automobile dans des villes comme Windsor ou Oshawa. Ça aide à garantir leur avenir. Cet accord maintient aussi l'exception culturelle demandée par le Canada. notamment dans l'espace numérique, qui protège nos industries culturelles et plus de 650 000 emplois partout au pays. Il préserve notre identité canadienne unique et notre caractère bilingue. Let me cite one of my favorite prime ministers, Louis Saint Laurent, who said in 1953, speaking of America, "We know it is not your wish to have on your border a mere replica of your own country, but rather a self-respecting community faithful to its own ways. We are thus better neighbors because self-respect is the key to respect for others." I think he put that very well. And there is something that is extremely important and of which I think we can all be particularly proud. Today's agreement fully upholds the impartial dispute resolution of Chapter 19 of the original NAFTA. When there's a disagreement over trade, it goes to an independent binational panel, and that panel gets to decide. Without Chapter 19, many of you will remember, there would have been no NAFTA in the first place. En fait, le Canada a eu recours à cette disposition à plusieurs reprises, notamment dans le cadre du différend sur le bois d'œuvre résineux, pour garantir le traitement équitable des travailleurs canadiens. Le Premier ministre a déjà dit, et je veux le rappeler, que nous devions préserver le commerce fondé sur des règles. Les États-Unis sont 10 fois plus grands que nous. Il était absolument nécessaire de garder le mécanisme de règlement des différends, et nous l'avons fait. Les producteurs laitiers du Canada, leurs familles et leurs communautés peuvent compter sur le plein appui de notre gouvernement. Ça n'a pas changé depuis le début des négociations. Je vous le confirme. Cet accord préserve et maintient le système de gestion de l'offre. Il prévoit une certaine libéralisation de l'accès au marché, semblable à celle du CETA et du PTP déjà conclus. Mais l'avenir de la gestion de l'offre n'est pas remis en cause. Pour atténuer les effets de ces changements, le gouvernement promet à nos producteurs qu'ils seront entièrement et justement compensés pour toute perte du part du marché. Le gouvernement va aussi travailler avec eux pour renforcer encore plus leur industrie. De plus, nos consultations avec les producteurs laitiers nous ont convaincus de former un nouveau groupe de travail avec des intervenants de l'industrie pour formuler une stratégie qui nous permettra de maintenir la vigueur de notre industrie laitière aujourd'hui et demain. The original NAFTA contained a clause that eroded Canada's sovereign control over our energy resources, known as the Proportionality Clause. That's now gone. We also fought for and won administrative changes that will save the oil patch more than $60 million a year in burdensome fees and costs. The investor-state dispute resolution system that has allowed companies to sue the Canadian government is also gone between Canada and the United States. Known as ISDS, it has cost Canadian taxpayers more than $300 million in penalties and legal fees. ISDS elevates the rights of corporations over those of sovereign governments. In removing it, we have strengthened our government's right to regulate in the public interest, to protect public health and the environment, for example. We have a new enforceable environment chapter that upholds air quality and fights marine pollution. And pivotally, we have reached an agreement on cars and car parts, inspired by creative Canadian ideas, which, as some of you will remember, we put forward in our talks in Montreal back in January. That was a key turning point in this negotiation, and one which made all of the subsequent progress possible. Since the Auto Pact, Canada has been an integral and essential part of the North American auto industry with its highly integrated supply chains. We fought for that, and we have preserved it and created opportunities for growth. Let me turn it over back to the Prime Minister.
Thank you, Chrystia. I'm looking forward to signing this agreement with Presidents Trump and Peña Nieto. And I really would like to stress this point. This will be good for workers in all three of our countries. Au cours des derniers mois, j'ai parlé avec des Canadiens travaillants et admirables dans des entreprises à travers le pays. Je tiens à leur dire, nous vous avons entendus. En effet, quand les dispositions exécutoires sur les droits du travail de cet accord seront en vigueur, il s'agira de la réforme progressiste la plus importante pour les travailleurs nord-américains en une génération. De plus, en tant que Québécois, je sais à quel point l'exception culturelle est essentielle pour préserver notre identité et continuer de faire rayonner notre culture. Bien évidemment, l'accord comporte également plusieurs autres aspects qui sont complexes. Notre équipe a encore beaucoup de travail à terminer et rien n'est encore garanti car le Canada ne décide pas ce qui se passe au Congrès américain ou au Sénat mexicain. La dernière année a été marquée par beaucoup d'incertitudes. Et je préfère le dire franchement, certaines inquiétudes persistent. Cela dit, l'annonce d'aujourd'hui est un grand pas en avant. C'est la voie que nous devons suivre pour entrer dans une nouvelle ère de prospérité et de stabilité économique en Amérique du Nord pour le bien des millions de gens qui dépendent d'une économie florissante pour subvenir aux besoins de leur famille et assurer un avenir meilleur à leurs enfants. Ces négociations étant maintenant derrière nous, nous pouvons aller de l'avant avec la certitude que notre économie est solide et qu'elle le restera, en même temps que nous continuerons à diversifier nos échanges commerciaux dans d'autres marchés à travers le monde. Along with CETA, our European trade deal, the CPTPP, our Trans-Pacific Accord, and Canada's other trade agreements, Canadians now benefit from free trade with 1.5 billion consumers around the world, representing 2/3 of the global economy. This is a very good position to be in. Add to this the fact that Canada is the only G7 country that has free trade agreements with every other G7 country. We will therefore continue to be extremely well placed for our businesses to reach new markets, hire new workers, and provide ever greater opportunities for Canadians. From Singapore to Kiev, from the northernmost point of the Americas to the southernmost, we are part of a global free trade network governed by rules that benefits consumers and workers alike. And the fact is, when it comes to trade, our businesses are thriving right now. Our merchandise exports hit an all-time high in June, the highest in our history. And middle-class families are benefiting from that success. Unemployment is at a 40-year low. These are the conditions we have preserved and will improve with this agreement. My friends, Canadians are among the most enterprising and innovative people on the planet. We have a lot more work to do, but we are on the right track. We didn't get here by accident. Throughout these negotiations, we are, and we all, governments and Canadians, remained focused on what matters most, building opportunity for workers and for their families. Our government's purpose, first, last, and always, is to create the conditions to grow a stronger middle class and improve opportunities for Canadians. That is what we achieved today. It's an important step in the right direction, and it is something of which we and our partners can be very proud. I'm happy now to take your questions.
Okay, we're going to start off with one question, one follow-up, as quick as you can, and I may interject to get you to do an answer from time to time in the other language, okay? Joyce Napier, CTV.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Good afternoon, Minister. I'm wondering how this will restore your relations with the White House.
I had a very positive call with the President this morning. There is no question that the question of NAFTA and renegotiating NAFTA has been a challenge in conversations with the President and with the administration over these past 13 months. But there is also no question that now that we have moved forward on a USMCA that is good news for all three of our countries, that we will continue to work on things that allow us to benefit our workers, benefit our citizens, and take on the world together as a North American market.
Minister Freeland, earlier Donald Trump spoke about what he called the power of tariffs, those that he imposed and those that he threatened to impose on his partners. And he said, without tariffs, basically there would be no good trade deals. So he was intimating that basically he forced his partner's hands, or he played his partner. So did the threat of these tariffs weaken your hand?
Canada believes that the way you negotiate good trade deals is through fact-based arguments and with the starting point that trade is mutually beneficial. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. So that is the approach that we take. We believe that a good trade agreement is a win-win agreement. It is an agreement that is going to create more jobs in both of the trading partners. That was the approach we took in CETA. That was the approach we took in CPTPP, and that has been our approach throughout the NAFTA negotiation. So we're a trading nation. We think trade is a really good thing. That's why we are really happy to have concluded this modernized deal with the United States and Mexico. And, our approach at the table is to make that point, to explain that this is about mutual benefit to all the parties to the agreement. And of course, where there are different views, to look for those compromise positions. At the same time, Joyce, as I think has been clear throughout this negotiation, there are some matters that we have defined as being absolutely crucial to the national interest, and we've been very clear about that.
Monsieur Trudeau, la classe politique québécoise dénonce à l'unanimité les concessions qui sont faites dans le secteur laitier. Il y a Monsieur Couillard qui a déjà dit qu'il envisageait d'utiliser les moyens en son pouvoir pour retarder la mise en œuvre de l'accord. Monsieur Legault regarde ses options. Est-ce que ça vous inquiète et qu'est-ce que vous pouvez faire concrètement pour garder le Québec à bord?
D'abord, je veux parler directement aux producteurs laitiers au Québec et ailleurs. Nous avons protégé la gestion de l'offre. Je sais qu'il y a des moments d'anxiété, mais on va travailler avec vous, avec l'industrie laitière au Québec et partout au pays pour s'assurer qu'on est en train de créer des compensations nécessaires et justes pour vous aider à continuer de réussir. Mais on sait très bien que l'administration américaine visait l'élimination de la gestion de l'offre. Et ce qu'on a fait avec cet accord a été de protéger la gestion de l'offre pour les générations futures parce que c'est un système qui fonctionne.
Qu'est-ce que vous avez à dire à ceux qui vous accusent d'avoir sacrifié le secteur laitier au Québec pour l'industrie de l'auto en Ontario?
Encore une fois, on sait qu'on est dans un système, dans un contexte de fin d'élection provinciale au Québec et il y a beaucoup d'intensité et de passion. Mais je sais aussi qu'il y a bien des Québécois, que ce soit des gens, des petites entreprises, des manufacturiers, que ce soit l'industrie culturelle qui a vu non seulement nos industries culturelles protégées, mais le virage numérique aussi protégé pour l'avenir, qui voit qu'un accord avec les États-Unis qui nous permet de créer de la croissance, de protéger nos emplois et d'en créer plus, tout en continuant à protéger la gestion de l'offre, ça va être un bon accord pour les Québécois et pour tous les Canadiens.
David Lundgren, Reuters.
Prime Minister, this deal does nothing to remove the steel aluminium tariffs. The USW just called it a sellout. When are those tariffs going to be removed?
We recognize that 232 has been in place since the Kennedy administration. and a trade deal was not going to be able to change such a core element of U.S. policy around national security that has been there since the 60s. We also recognize that moving forward on eliminating the tariffs on steel and aluminum remains a priority for us, for Mexico, and something that the Americans have indicated that they are more than willing to work on. So we're going to continue discussing that issue and other issues between our two countries in a positive, good faith way, knowing that we've made significant progress and that there's always more to do.
Ambassador Norton last week was quite eloquent when he talked about the need for this new agreement to provide an effective curb against the Americans imposing tariffs on Canada. You're going into this deal with the 232s and steel and aluminium still on. What confidence do you have that in 5, 6, 7 months' time the President's going to lose his temper with you and say, okay, those Canadians, they're going to get tariffs on, boom?
Well, we know, first of all, on the 232 issue, there's been a lot of discussion of 232 on cars. And what we were able to negotiate with the Americans on this is protection for the Canadian auto industry and auto parts industry from 232 measures on autos that the President might move forward with. So we know that protecting our auto industry was one of the core concerns that Canadians had about getting to a deal, and we're glad to say that we have significant protections for our auto industry. We've also moved forward on certain measures that are a bit of an insurance policy against 232 in general, an exception for Canada, and a larger implementation period, a longer implementation period, a delay of 60 days before any measures come in, that will allow us to work with our American friends and neighbors to try and find solutions before 232 moves forward.
Josh Wingrove, Bloomberg.
Follow up on the steel tariffs, that 60-day sort of window that you mentioned, will that kick in for the steel and aluminum tariffs?
No. Chrystia, do you want to?
They're pushing the next 60 days to get that lifted. Is there any correlation between signing the deal November 30th and having these tariffs lifted?
The 60-day measure that the Prime Minister mentioned is a special agreement between Canada and the United States, acknowledging the closeness of our trading relationship and the fact that we have a very special security relationship. And according to this provision, future 232 tariffs, if they were applied to countries in the world, Canada would have a special 60-day consultation period for us to try to work things out. I think that is a good thing. When it comes to steel and aluminum, Josh, our position is unchanged. We have felt from day one that trade in steel between Canada and the United States is balanced and mutually beneficial. As you know, the United States has a slight surplus, in fact. And we think the best outcome, the best economic outcome for both countries would be for both countries to remove those tariffs. That's something that we've been actively discussing with the United States since the imposition of the tariffs. We're going to continue to do that. And certainly, as the Prime Minister said, we have some momentum now, having concluded this deal. And we are definitely looking to take advantage of that momentum to intensify conversations about steel and aluminum.
Can I just ask when things changed? Was there a turning point? It seems like things really picked up in the last week. Was there a particular day or a particular subject that you think really got things moving, broke a logjam?
You know, there have been a lot of turning points. I actually think the real historic turning point was when Ambassador Lighthizer decided that the 50% domestic content provision, which was in the initial U.S. negotiating positions, 50% domestic content for car parts, when he decided that that was not going to be his approach, and we worked instead together on the labor value content. I think that was probably the single pivotal moment, and I think from then on we felt that the outline of a deal was there. We could see a landing zone, and the question for us at that point became, how do we get there?
Ask voulez répéter en français juste la dernière réponse, s'il vous plaît.
Et c'est certain que dans toutes les négociations qui ont eu des beaux moments, des moments plus difficiles, quand les États-Unis et le représentant Lighthizer en particulier ont été ouverts à enlever la demande, l'exigence de 50% de production domestique aux États-Unis pour les autos, là, on a commencé à voir qu'il y avait une piste vers une solution. Jusqu'à ce point-là, on savait que ça allait être un grand défi, mais quand on a vu que, oui, on pouvait avoir un accord sur les autos qui allait être bon pour le Canada, pour les États-Unis et le Mexique, là, on a vu que il y avait une façon de résoudre cet accord de l'ALENA pour la moderniser de façon à être vraiment gagnant, 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 et on a pu le faire.
And if I'm just going to add one sentence there, you know, that the labor value content idea, that's a really creative idea. It's new to trade agreements, and I really want to give credit to Ambassador Lighthizer and his team for working on that. We actually had a lot of fun developing it together, and it goes to where there is the core shared interest of Canada and the United States, which is the reality that we have workers in both of our countries who feel their jobs have been eroded because of trade agreements. This element that we have in our modernized North American trade agreement gives some real comfort to manufacturing workers in high-wage countries, and we were able to accomplish this because that is a shared interest of Canada and the United States and of our administrations.
Mélanie Marquis, Presse canadienne.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. C'est la troisième fois en autant de traités que les producteurs laitiers perdent au change. Vous savez qu'il y a 50 de la production laitière qui est au Québec. Est-ce que vous faites le calcul à un an des élections que ça ne nuira pas à vos chances au Québec ou vous craignez un ressent?
Au contraire, je sais que cet accord va être bon pour les Québécois comme pour tous les Canadiens, pour nos manufacturiers, pour nos entreprises, pour nos travailleurs dans nos industries culturelles. C'est de très bonnes nouvelles pour les consommateurs. On sait que les Québécois, comme tous les Canadiens, c'est une bonne chose d'avoir de la stabilité, d'avoir de l'accès, d'avoir un accord qui va protéger les emplois de la classe moyenne et la prospérité pour le long terme. On reconnaît qu'au niveau des producteurs laitiers, il y a des préoccupations et je peux encore une fois vous rassurer que nous avons protégé la gestion de l'offre pour l'avenir. C'est un système qui va continuer de fonctionner au Canada. Et par rapport à la part du marché qui a été donnée, on va travailler avec l'industrie pour s'assurer qu'une compensation adéquate leur permette de continuer à réussir.
Vous savez que c'est jour d'élection aujourd'hui au Québec. On a les détails de l'annonce aujourd'hui. Est-ce que vous étiez entré en contact avec le premier ministre sortant, M. Couillard, et les autres chefs politiques pour les prévenir de ce qui s'en venait le 1er octobre? Ça
fait des semaines et des mois que je suis en consultation très proche avec tous les premiers ministres des provinces. Depuis les débuts des négociations, j'ai eu plusieurs appels avec les premiers ministres pour leur aviser de notre approche, des détails et d'éléments qui étaient en train d'être discutés. Et évidemment, le premier ministre Couillard a été très clair par rapport à ses préoccupations tout au long de ces conversations-là. J'ai d'ailleurs eu beaucoup d'occasions pour en parler directement avec lui. Nous avons eu un appel avec les premiers ministres ce matin pour parler de comment nous allons avancer ensemble. Il y avait effectivement une préoccupation de la part du premier ministre Couillard par rapport à ce qu'on a conclu pour les producteurs laitiers. Mais comme j'ai dit, nous allons travailler avec l'industrie et nous avons sécurisé l'avenir de la gestion de l'offre que, on sait très bien, les Américains voulaient carrément éliminer.
Katie Simpson, CBC.
I'm wondering if either the Prime Minister or Minister Freeland can walk us through the past 72 hours and sort of share some of the color inside the room. When did you know that you were close to a deal? Was there some sort of aha moment that you had it? And what was the reaction in the room once an agreement was reached?
I think we have all been through moments over the course of these negotiations where we felt very close only to see it not end up working out. So I think we were all very mindful that there was a definite window now where the midnight deadline by the United States to send the text to Congress was a very real deadline that gave us an opportunity to work towards it. But I have to say, from my own perspective, there wasn't a single aha moment. There was just a series of, okay, we got this one settled. Wow, okay, we still got to talk about this one, and it's not done yet. But there was this sense that when things were falling into place, I think one of the moments for me was when we realized that we had an intact Chapter 19. That was where I started to realize, okay, you know what? I think we're going to be able to get to a place because we've kept in place the rules that protect trade and enforce trade agreements like this.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
Okay. Je pense que au fil des mois, il y a eu beaucoup de moments où il y avait un peu d'enthousiasme et de momentum, et par la suite, on a vu que ça n'a pas fonctionné. Alors, il n'y avait pas un moment précis dans nos conversations pendant la fin de semaine où on a vu « OK, c'est fait », jusqu'à ce que ça soit fait à la dernière seconde. Mais c'est certain qu'il y avait plusieurs signes positifs, mais chaque fois qu'on réglait une chose, il y avait d'autres choses à vouloir régler. On était très clair dans ce que nous, on s'attendait pour les Canadiens comme ce qui constituait un bon accord. Mais un moment clé pour moi, ça a été ce moment où on s'est rendu compte qu'on allait avoir le chapitre 19 en son intégralité. C'était une priorité pour nous de garder en place les règles qui géraient le règlement des différends pour un accord comme ça. Et quand on l'a eu, pour moi, c'était un très, très bon signe.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add, Katie, is, remember when we were all together in August of last year and we started the journey that we took together. And I predicted that there would be moments of drama. And I also spoke about our confidence that at the end of the day, the economic logic behind this relationship meant we really believed it was going to be possible to modernize NAFTA in a way that was good for everyone. And that core conviction of ours, which we hold because it is the truth, that has been our compass here. And it's easy to be overtaken by the dramatic moments, but we have not been. And we have always just focused on the reality that this is a good deal for everyone. And we've always believed that we were going to get here, right, Prime Minister?
As a follow-up in English, I'm wondering if you can speak to the compensations that you'll be providing to Canadian dairy farmers. Also, consideration, will there be compensation to poultry farmers and some of the other agricultural sectors that have been caught off guard by some of the concessions in this deal?
So, as we said, our supply-managed producers will be fully compensated because that is the fair thing to do. We want to be sure that the compensation is carefully thought through, and we have begun that process already. And I'd like to remind people that there is still a road to travel before this agreement, this modernized agreement, is ratified and enters into force. And we are going to use that time really thoughtfully and carefully to be sure we get the compensation right. But I do want to emphasize that is a clear commitment of our government.
Hélène Bouzari, Le Devoir.
Monsieur Trudeau, pour revenir à une question de mon collègue, il y a beaucoup d'insatisfaction par rapport à la gestion de l'offre, etc. Il y a même des leaders qui ont dit qu'ils ne laisseraient pas passer. Donc, j'aimerais savoir dans quelle mesure craignez-vous que le Québec bloque cette entente, l'adoption de cette entente?
D'abord, on comprend le contexte électoral maintenant qui inflamme un peu la rhétorique à ce niveau-là. Nous allons, comme nous faisons toujours, travailler avec la province, avec les premiers ministres à travers le pays pour s'assurer qu'on avance de la bonne façon, dans le respect et dans la prospérité pour tous. Comme j'ai dit, nous entendons les préoccupations par rapport à nos producteurs laitiers, mais nous avons protégé le système de gestion de l'offre et nous allons compenser les producteurs laitiers. Nous allons travailler avec eux pour s'assurer que tout se passe bien. Mais pour le reste, pour les autres secteurs à travers le Québec, à travers le Canada, c'est de très, très bonnes nouvelles.
Mais à votre avis, est-ce qu'il est possible? Est-ce que c'est envisageable que le Québec bloque ou, à votre avis, il n'a pas cette capacité?
J'ai bien hâte d'avoir ces conversations avec le gouvernement du Québec dans les journées et les semaines à venir, mais je sais que d'avoir sécurisé les emplois et l'accord commercial de libre-échange avec les États-Unis, c'est une très bonne nouvelle pour tous les Canadiens, y compris les Québécois.
Kelsey Johnson, iPolitics.
Prime Minister, how can you say that you kept supply management intact when you've agreed to eliminate Class 7 and Class 6, as well as set significant limits on Canadian dairy exports?
We continue to have a supply management system that ensures that Canadian milk producers are able to sell their high-quality products to Canadians. We have a supply management system that continues to be very much in place to protect both our agricultural sector and our consumers. This is something that continues. We have made modifications to the way it works, but we also know that it is something that will ensure the viability and the strength of supply management for years to come.
Minister Freeland, Minister Wilson from Ontario says he was told that steel and aluminum tariffs would be eradicated completely. Is that true?
Well, I can't speak to all conversations people might have, but I have certainly been clear from the outset that the 232 issues and the NAFTA negotiations are entirely separate. 232 is a national security consideration. It has never been part of the NAFTA negotiation. Having said that, of course, we think both Canada and the United States would be in a better place if neither country were imposing tariffs on our very balanced, highly integrated steel and aluminum sectors and therefore our manufacturing sectors. So that's something we continue to discuss with the United States. And as I also said, you know, we have a little bit of wind in our sails, and we are going to very much continue to work on this issue. But it is separate from the NAFTA talks.
Guillaume Saint-Pierre, Journal de Québec.
Bonjour, Monsieur
I'm
Trudeau.
sorry, did you get a
Oui. Non,
follow-up? You did.
Non,
Sorry.
on n'a pas de questions.
I did, but I got a follow-up.
Yeah, go ahead, Guillaume.
Bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau. Vous avez dit tout à l'heure que la préservation du chapitre 19, c'était votre gain le plus satisfaisant. Mais quelle a été, à l'inverse, la concession qui vous a fait le plus mal?
C'est certain qu'on avait des attentes claires par rapport à cet accord-là. Il fallait préserver le système de règles dans le chapitre 19. Il fallait protéger notre exception culturelle. Il fallait protéger la gestion de l'offre. C'est certain que quand on a dû faire un certain mouvement sur les produits laitiers, c'était pas idéal. Mais c'est quelque chose que nous savons, nous pouvons faire tout en protégeant le système de gestion de l'offre et de s'assurer que les producteurs laitiers puissent continuer d'avoir une bonne réussite et un bel avenir au Canada. Par rapport aux autres choses, vraiment, l'élément positif d'avoir sécurisé, dans un contexte global incertain, notre accès et notre participation pleinement dans le marché nord-américain est un grand avantage pour tous les Canadiens.
Ce matin, en conférence de presse, M. Trump avait beaucoup de bons mots pour le président mexicain. Lorsqu'il parlait de vous, il était, disons, un peu plus circonspect, un peu plus froid. Est-ce que votre relation avec M. Trump est meilleure aujourd'hui qu'elle l'était avant les négos ou pire?
On a eu une conversation qui s'est très bien passée ce matin. On était tous les deux très contents d'avoir conclu cet accord historique. Mais c'est certain que, comme j'ai toujours dit, les relations entre le Canada et les États-Unis sont beaucoup plus profondes que juste les relations entre les deux individus qui sont Premier ministre et Président. Je vais continuer d'avoir des relations constructives avec le président américain, mais je vais continuer aussi d'être ancré dans les besoins, les intérêts et les valeurs des citoyens canadiens.
Mercedes Stevenson, Global News.
The government was saying that you didn't believe Sunday night was a real deadline, that there was no real deadline. But today it sounds like you very much thought it was a real deadline. So when did that become apparent in the negotiations that the Americans were serious and there might be some sort of consequence if you missed it?
Well, I think actually to flip that around a bit, it became clear when we started to see the things that we had said were absolute necessities in us accepting a deal, that they began to move on them, that we realized that they really did want to get this done before the midnight deadline. And for us, as you know, we've tried to work towards all the deadlines that had been put forward, but we weren't concerned about deadlines as much as we were concerned about getting the right deal for Canadians, getting a good deal for Canada. And when that deal came together yesterday afternoon and evening, it wasn't about the deadline, it was about the deal actually coming together.
If you missed the deadline, did you have an indication from the Americans that tariffs would kick in today?
We didn't miss the deadline.
If you did.
I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals. We worked very hard. We got to the right deal. We got to a win-win-win for all three countries.
Maxime Bergeron, La Presse.
Oui, bonjour. La clause crépusculaire est un enjeu extrêmement important dans la négociation, donc qui semble avoir été réglé, du moins en partie. Pouvez-vous donner des détails concrètement sur le mécanisme de renégociation après 6 ans? Et pensez-vous que ça va être suffisant pour redémarrer les investissements étrangers au Canada qui ont quand même fortement baissé?
Non, je suis prête.
Je peux d'abord dire que les signes d'investissement, les conversations qu'on a déjà eues aujourd'hui avec des investisseurs, avec les banques, avec des gens qui sont très contents qu'on ait pu sécuriser l'avenir du commerce nord-américain sont très positifs et on s'attend à avoir beaucoup de remous positifs dans la communauté au niveau de l'investissement.
C'est une très bonne question et vous avez raison que la clause crépusculaire était un enjeu très important du Canada au début des négociations. Quand les Américains ont demandé une clause crépusculaire de 5 ans, et la structure de cette idée était que sans une décision positive du côté des leaders, l'ALENA serait annulée. Et nous avons trouvé un compromis. Le compromis est un compromis qui est normal pour le Canada. Comme vous avez dit, c'est 6 ans et après une période de conversation de 10 ans. Alors, c'est 10... 50, 60...
6 ans, 10 ans.
C'est 6 ans et 10 ans entièrement. Et je pense que pour les investisseurs, oui, Joyce, c'est un peu complexe. C'est la période initiale, c'est une période de 6 ans. Après 6 ans, nous aurions un moment dans lequel tous les 3 pays peuvent avoir une conversation au niveau des leaders et de décider quelle est comment fonctionne l'accord à ce moment-là. Si tout va bien, tout va bien. S'il y a des problèmes, nous aurions 10 ans dans lesquels nous pouvons discuter. Alors, c'est une clause qui, je pense, est absolument normale pour les investisseurs. Et je dois dire aussi que, et je pense que l'ambassadeur Lighthizer me permettra de dire ça, il m'a dit directement que la position du Premier ministre sur la clause crépusculaire était très important pour lui et pour les Américains. Et que le fait que nous avons trouvé cette compromis était à cause de le fait qu'ambassadeur Lighthizer savait que c'était très important pour le Premier ministre.
L'autre chose dont il faut se souvenir, c'est qu'à l'intérieur de l'ALENA, il y a toujours eu cette clause qui permettait à n'importe quel pays de se retirer pour n'importe quelle raison avec 6 mois de préavis. Alors là, ce qu'on a pu faire, c'est créer un horizon assez lointain, c'est-à-dire de 16 ans, pour au moins aller au-delà de n'importe quel président actuel pour aller vers l'avenir avec un peu de sécurité.
I appreciate we're near the end, but can John Iveson from Post Media take the last 2 questions? You didn't have your phone. Sorry. I'm conscious of time. Can we go really quickly?
Very quick. So, dans ces 14 mois-là, marqués par le drame, comme vous l'avez mentionné, est-ce qu'il y a eu un moment ou des moments où vous avez vraiment pensé que ce serait impossible d'arriver à une entente?
Il y a eu des moments d'enthousiasme, il y a eu des moments pas de désespoir, mais des moments où on se doutait de la capacité d'arriver, même si, et c'était des moments frustrants parce qu'on voyait à quel point c'était dans l'intérêt du Canada, des États-Unis et des Mexicains d'arriver à une entente positive. Donc, oui, il y a eu des moments peut-être de pessimisme, mais je pense qu'à travers, on a toujours pu savoir qu'on va continuer de travailler et on sait qu'éventuellement, on devrait pouvoir y arriver et on est très content, évidemment, d'y arriver aujourd'hui.
John?
The agreement seems to open the door to Washington having influence on future trade negotiations with a non-market player like China. How much influence is the U.S. likely to have on any talks with China?
Well, one of the things that we know is that trade diversification is an extremely important part of growing the Canadian economy. We're going to continue to engage in increasing our trade footprint around the world. Canada is a trading nation, and we will always look to deepen and strengthen our economic ties with countries around the world. But on that specific issue,
yeah, I think, John, you must be referring to the non-market economy clause. And what I would say about that is what that clause does is it gives any one of the NAFTA countries the ability, if it chooses, upon the entry into force of a trade agreement between another NAFTA partner and a non-market economy, the other NAFTA partner may choose to exit the accord. That's something, as the Prime Minister pointed out in our Sunset Clause conversation, that is a possibility which exists no matter what. NAFTA, like any trade agreement, has a way for parties to leave, and that's essential. We as a country would never be bound by an agreement which allowed no departure. So there has always been, from the moment that NAFTA entered into force, and this exists in all of our trade deals, the option for a NAFTA country to leave NAFTA. The non-market economy element gives the country the opportunity to say, as a result of the decision of one NAFTA partner to enter into a trade agreement with a non-market economy, that could be a reason to leave. But in the 2205 6-month withdrawal mechanism, you don't need a reason to leave, And you shouldn't. You know, each country should have the right to make a sovereign decision about whether it wants to remain in a trade agreement. That has always been the case with NAFTA. It continues to be the case with NAFTA. And speaking for Canada, and I think this is something we would all agree with, we would never enter into a trade agreement that we didn't have the option at some future point to decide didn't work for our country.
In the early going, there was a lot of talk about progressive trade agenda, yet in the final agreement, there's very little mention made of Indigenous or gender rights. Was that an unnecessary distraction?
A progressive trade agenda is one that recognizes that trade deals are good to create growth, but don't necessarily ensure that the benefits of growth go to everyone. And when we talk about progressive trade, it's about ensuring that the middle class and those working hard to join it, small businesses, marginalized communities have opportunities to succeed with this trade agreement. And that is something that we have woven throughout this agreement, and it is something that, quite frankly, Canadians expect. And we've moved forward with CETA in a way that benefits everyone, the CPTPP in ways to make sure that there are benefits to everyone, and indeed on the USMCA in ways that benefits everyone. That is something that Canadians expect of us, and it is something that we are going to continue to ensure that that happens in these trade deals. We need to make sure that everyone benefits from these, and that's what we've been expecting.
And if I could add, John, this is in fact a very progressive trade agreement. The environment chapter is enforceable. It is much stronger than previous environment chapters. That is a very progressive outcome. The labor chapter is significantly stronger, and that is a very significant progressive outcome. And as discussed earlier, the labor value content idea embedded in the rules of origin, this is all about protecting high-wage workers in a trade agreement. And I can think of nothing that is more central to the progressive agenda than that. Having said that, there is also some good language on Indigenous issues and on gender in the agreement too. And we'll be happy to point it out to you.
Do you want a snappy round? 3 last questions?
Actually, we have question period in about a half an hour.
Thank you for doing this.
Merci tout le monde.
That concludes our news of today.